Walking along LVH Street in DT Ward, BTL District, HN City, Mrs. T soon arrived at the gate of the Academy of Finance. It was winter, yet the sun shone warmly that day, golden rays slipping through the leaves and spreading across the road, making the air feel gentler and awakening the gloomy atmosphere of previous days. Her commute was already short, and now it felt even shorter. Passers-by would often hear the faint sound of Buddha recitation playing from the small speaker hanging around her neck, or sometimes hear her softly chanting herself. That evening, back at their house in Alley 56 on the same street, her husband sat with one leg crossed over the other, sipping tea while watching Mrs. T cook dinner. Yet from her lips came an endless stream of Namo Amitabha Buddha. Irritated, he called out,
"Why do you keep thinking about death when you're still perfectly alive?"
Mrs. T smiled while continuing to cook. Only after finishing did she return to sit beside him. Why fear death? Death isn't the end. We reincarnate into another life. What matters is where we go afterward. I only wish to return to the Pure Land. He sighed heavily and shook his head in exasperation. Though he loved his wife dearly, he simply could not accept these strange ideas about reincarnation and the Pure Land. To him, they all sounded vague and unreal.
"I can't argue with you anymore. Do whatever you want."
Mrs. T had long grown used to her husband's attitude. Even if he did not support her Buddhist practice, at least he did not obstruct it, and she already considered that a blessing. Just as the meal was ready and the couple was about to eat, Th, their eldest daughter, opened the door and stepped inside. "Oh, Th, you should have told me you were coming so I could cook more food. Tonight's meal is so simple. I already ate, Mom. I had something to do nearby, so I stopped by for a bit." "Why are you and Dad eating so late?" "This afternoon I was copying Buddha's name into notebooks. I's already finished more than 20 of them. I got so absorbed she forgot the time, leaving your poor father hungry." Taking the opportunity, Mrs. T's husband complained.
"So your mother does know I get hungry. All day it's just, Namo Amitabha Buddha, forgetting her husband exists."
"But Mom always cooks for you. Maybe she slips up once in a while. You're already the luckiest husband, and you still bully her." Mrs. T smiled in agreement, while her husband remained silent, shooting his wife a sideways glance, pretending to be stern. Yet inwardly he admitted it was true. His wife was both beautiful and virtuous, considerate toward family and relatives, capable in every aspect of life. No one was perfect, of course, but if he had to score her, he would generously give her 8 out of 10. After swallowing a mouthful of rice, Mrs. T suddenly remembered something important she wanted to remind Th about. In truth, she had already said this many times, even before Th got married. "When I die someday, remember to chant Buddha's name for me. Offer only vegetarian incense offerings, understand?" Her husband jolted in surprise.
"This woman talks about death like it's a joke."
"Mom, just focus diligently on your chanting and don't worry so much," Th replied. "I have to repeat it many times just to be sure. This is the greatest matter of an entire lifetime. If something goes wrong at the moment of death, who knows how many lifetimes it will take before rebirth in the Pure Land becomes possible. Remember, no one is allowed to cry. Human life is impermanent. There's nothing worth clinging to. If you can invite a chanting support group, that's best. Otherwise, the whole family should sincerely recite Buddha's name for me. Avoid killing, and if you make offerings to me, make vegetarian offerings, all right? Don't worry, Mom, I remember. You're still young and healthy. That day is far away. Life and death come unexpectedly. No one knows in advance." Her husband quickly interrupted.
"Enough already. Stop saying unlucky things and eat."
Ever since discovering Buddhism, Mrs. T, full name NTT, often spoke about life and death as casually as discussing vegetables at the market. Whenever someone in the extended family passed away, she would advise everyone to remain calm, not cry, and simply recite Buddha's name. This was completely different from more than 10 years earlier, before she began practicing Buddhism, when she herself had been the loudest mourner in the family, sobbing uncontrollably and fainting repeatedly from grief. Seeing her husband's displeasure, Mrs. T changed the subject and turned to TH. And you, ever since you got married, haven't you become lazy in your practice? Of course food, money, family, and children are important, but you can't neglect spiritual cultivation because of that. You must know what truly matters. Only when you accomplish your own spiritual path can your loved ones later rely on you. Helping them with food and clothing only benefits one lifetime. Helping them attain liberation benefits countless lifetimes. It's true I've become much lazier these past few years. I'm anxious about it too, but life keeps me so busy. After talking for a while, the couple finished dinner. By 8 in the evening, TH hurried back home to her husband and children. Life's relentless pace continued for her, family responsibilities, work, endless worldly concerns. To let go of everything and pursue some ideal of liberation sounded easy in theory, but in reality, it was incredibly difficult. Meanwhile, her mother had practiced Buddhism for nearly 10 years. With her understanding, she believed she no longer clung to this world. She treated her loved ones with affection, but without attachment or emotional dependence. When her lifespan ended, she believed she would be ready to let go of everything and journey to the Pure Land. Days passed peacefully. Mrs. T had already prepared everything she needed and given all necessary instructions. Now she simply recited Buddha's name diligently, waiting for the day her lifespan would end and Amitabha Buddha would come receive her. Boom mmm. A 7-seater car suddenly veered onto the sidewalk, crashing into an older woman. The driver slammed the brakes. Screech. But it was too late. The wheels crushed the victim, severing both legs below the knees. Blood poured everywhere, pooling on the ground. The woman died instantly, unable to utter a single cry. "Oh my God! Someone's been killed!" a voice screamed, drawing a crowd. A few people peered at the victim's face, and suddenly someone recognized her. "Oh no! That's Mrs. T from my alley. Quick! Call her family." Since TH lived nearby, she arrived at the scene quickly. Confirming it was indeed her mother, killed on her way home from work, she stood frozen in shock, her mind blank. Only after a long moment did she break down in tears. It was December 18, 2023. Half an hour later, after regaining some composure, the first person TH called was a close Dharma friend. "My mother was in an accident. She died before they could save her," she sobbed. Before TH could continue, her friend immediately understood. She said she would recite the Ksitagava Sutra, chant Buddha's name, and recite the Shuringama mantra to dedicate merit to Mrs. T. She also reminded TH to prepare properly for the funeral, fearing she might be too shocked to think clearly. The funeral arrangements were eventually completed. On the day, the family brought Mrs. T's ashes back to the countryside for burial. Everyone experienced something astonishing. The entire family had gathered at the cemetery when suddenly a strange, choking voice arose amid the sound of grieving relatives. Everyone turned toward one of TH's older female cousins. Her body shook violently, her eyes vacant. After remaining silent for a moment, she burst into tears. "I've been wronged. I've been wronged. They crashed into me." Everyone immediately understood. Mrs. T's spirit had returned to cry out her grievance. Her husband, devastated by grief over the past few days, rushed toward her despite his shock at witnessing a spirit possession.
"Oh my dear wife, why did you leave so suddenly and abandon me alone? Who will I talk to now? Who will I eat meals with?"
"Don't grieve anymore. Bring me to the temple soon. I want to go to the temple. One living, one dead," the elderly couple cried together across the cemetery grounds. Watching the scene, TH felt deep sorrow, but what worried her most was her mother's rebirth. Despite preparing for death for years, her mother was still here now, resentful about the accident, attached to her husband and children, lingering in the mortal world. TH quickly reminded her, "Mom, your karmic debt has already been repaid. Don't cling here anymore. Quickly recite Buddha's name and pray for Amitabha Buddha to guide you to the Pure Land. Have you forgotten?" The moment TH finished speaking, her mother, through the cousin's body, suddenly joined her palms together, sat cross-legged, and softly chanted, "Namo Amitabha Buddha," joining the chanting of Th and the surrounding family members. Shortly afterward, the spirit departed, and the cousin regained herself. After the burial, everyone returned home. During this time, Mrs. T's husband suffered the deepest emotional blow. He seemed to age overnight, withdrawn and lifeless, spending all day shut inside the house. Th worried both about her father's mental state and about her mother's suffering in the unseen realm. She knew this was the time she needed to devote herself wholeheartedly to filial duty. Immediately, she contacted 3 Buddhist practice groups, asking them to dedicate spiritual merit to her mother. During the 49-day mourning period, Th performed countless good deeds to help Mrs. T reduce karma, increase blessings, and attain rebirth in the Pure Land. She sponsored statues of Ksitagava Bodhisattva, molds of Amitabha Buddha and Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, printed Ksitagava Sutras, 100 copies of the Shuringama Sutra, 1,000 copies of the Shuringama Mantra, made offerings to the Triple Gem, and performed life release rituals every week. Inside the quiet house, Mr. T slowly prepared vegetarian meals. His wife had cooked for him her entire life. Now he personally cooked every meal offered to her spirit. Both he and the children ate vegetarian food during the 7 weekly memorial periods, while Th vowed lifelong vegetarianism. Seeing her father carefully carrying an offering tray to the altar while she recited sutras, Th asked, "Why didn't you let me carry it?"
You're doing the ceremony for your mother. Just continue.
I've already recited nearly 30 rounds of the Ksitagava Sutra. Whenever I have free time, I recite more.
Good. Do your best so your mother suffers less. Turns out your mother was right. Death isn't the end.
After saying that, he slowly shuffled downstairs, leaving his daughter to continue the ceremony. Since her mother's death, Th became far more diligent in practice. Her lips constantly recited Buddha's name, while cooking, cleaning, washing dishes, driving, exactly as Mrs. T had done in life. Though she strove tirelessly, Th still worried deeply. She hoped her mother no longer suffered. One weekend, relatives gathered at a temple to chant sutras for Mrs. T. As the chanting echoed through the hall, an elderly woman suddenly trembled violently. Her eyes closed halfway, then flew open in fear. One of Th's uncles, sensing a spirit possession, asked,
"Who is it?"
The old woman burst into tears. "I've been wronged. They crashed into me." Everyone immediately recognized Mrs. T again. Th's uncle comforted her.
You must stop clinging now. It only brings more suffering. Stay here at the temple, chant Buddha's name, and recite sutras with everyone.
The old woman nodded repeatedly in agreement. Moments later, the spirit departed. When Th later heard about this, she became extremely distressed. Despite all the merit she had created for her mother still suffered, let alone achieving rebirth in the Pure Land. Thinking of this, Th's eyes reddened with tears. Unable to find peace, she went to the temple, knelt respectfully before the Triple Gem, and made a solemn vow. I vow to remain vegetarian for life, make offerings to the Triple Gem, print and distribute sutras, give charity within my means, recite the Shuringama Mantra and the Ksitagava Sutra for the benefit of sentient beings. I beg the Buddhas to compassionately rescue my mother's spirit and guide her to the Pure Land forever free from the suffering of samsara. I offer my mother's case as proof to strengthen people's faith in the Dharma. May the Triple Gem bless and protect us. Yet inwardly she still wondered. While alive, her mother practiced diligently, and now Th herself was generating so much merit on her behalf. Why had her suffering not ended? She shared these concerns with Court, a respected Buddhist mentor she had followed on Facebook for a long time. Understanding her worries, he advised her to continue all her current good deeds and additionally perform memorial liberation rituals according to the ceremonies he provided. Standing before the altar, Th spoke to her mother as though speaking to a living person. "Mom, please let go of everything. Don't cling to the family anymore. Don't resent the person who caused the accident. Your karma has already been repaid. Now is the time to remember the Buddha and chant his name, just as you always taught me." Afterward, TH began performing liberation ceremonies daily. First came prostrations and food offerings to wandering spirits. Afterward came teachings encouraging the spirit to release attachment, followed by recitation of the Great Compassion Mantra and Buddha recitation for rebirth in the Pure Land. She performed these rituals every single day, more than 10 times in total. During a family gathering, TH thanked all the relatives who had helped with the funeral and invited everyone to attend the 5th Memorial Week ceremony, 35 days after her mother's passing, to escort her spirit to the temple according to Mrs. T's final wish. "I won't come that day," her cousin shuddered. "I'm scared of being possessed again." "That's all right, you can stay home and rest. Everyone's already done so much. Oh, by the way," the cousin added, "these past few days I've kept dreaming about your mother. She looked beautiful, dressed beautifully too. She smiled and told me, it's almost enough. But I don't know what she meant." "Really? If Mom looked happy, then that's a good sign," TH replied, hope shining in her eyes. Exactly 35 days after Mrs. T's death, everyone gathered at the temple. Coincidentally, the cousin finally decided to attend after all. The moment she sat down cross-legged, before she could even begin chanting with the assembly, Mrs. T's spirit quickly entered her body again. Mrs. T looked around and stopped at her husband. "Please stop grieving for me. Our karmic bond as husband and wife has ended. You must go out and live your life instead of staying home crying all the time. Seeing you like this makes it hard for me to leave peacefully."
Go peacefully without worry. I'll continue chanting Buddha's name for you.
Her husband replied gently, holding back tears. "Mom," TH added, "all you need now is to remember the Buddha and recite his name. Let go of everything. We'll take care of Dad. Please go peacefully to the Pure Land." Mrs. T immediately waved her hand, signaling everyone to be quiet so she could bow to the Buddha. TH suddenly realized she might have spoken too much. After all, her mother already knew these teachings well. Mrs. T then bowed continuously to the Buddha. Afterward, she shook hands with every family member, thanking them for caring for her during this time, and saying farewell. "My legs have been healed by the Buddhas. I can walk again. From today onward, I no longer suffer. Once I step out of here to follow the Buddha, there will no longer be mother and child, husband and wife. My karma in this world has been fully repaid. I have nothing left to cling to here. This is the last time I will return. I am going with the Buddha." After that, Mrs. T said nothing more. She simply sat chanting and reciting sutras with the assembly. When the ceremony ended, she knelt before the triple gem, bowed to the Buddha, bowed in all directions, and then departed from the cousin's body. Just as she had declared, "I am going with the Buddha," she followed the radiant light of Amitabha Buddha toward the western Pure Land of ultimate bliss, forever ending all suffering in the human world. TH finally breathed a sigh of relief. Now she understood what her mother had meant by, "It's almost enough." The merits she and her fellow practitioners had tirelessly accumulated, combined with her mother's own blessings, had finally become sufficient for rebirth in the Pure Land. Had TH given up halfway, her mother's liberation might have been delayed indefinitely. The efforts of loved ones, therefore, truly carry profound meaning for the deceased. Since witnessing Mrs. T's rebirth with the Buddha, her husband underwent a profound transformation in his understanding of Buddhism. The youngest son also began practicing sincerely, while TH herself became ever more diligent, following in her mother's footsteps and vowing that one day she too would journey to the land of ultimate bliss.